Owning your past doesn't mean loving it. It doesn't mean agreeing with everything that happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It means facing it head on without filters, excuses, or denial. It means saying, yes, that happened. And yes, it shaped me, but it doesn't get to define me. Too many people try to start over by running from mistakes, from shame, from memories they wish they could rewrite. The problem is you can't build a new life while dragging the old one behind you. You have to stop long enough to look at it, learn from it, and then leave it where it belongs, behind you. When you own your past, you take back control. You stop giving your story to other people to tell. Maybe you've been blamed, betrayed, or broken. Maybe you did the breaking. Either way, the moment you own it, it stops owning you. That's where real freedom starts. Not in forgetting, in understanding. You can't heal from something you refuse to acknowledge. You can't rebuild from ground you've never cleared. So instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Start asking, what can I learn from it? That question moves you forward. The first one keeps you stuck. Think about this. Every decision, every mistake, every heartbreak taught you something about who you are and what you value. It showed you what works and what doesn't. Those lessons are expensive. Don't waste them by pretending they don't exist. You paid for them with pain, time, or regret. Use them. That's how you turn your past from a prison into a teacher. Owning your past also means owning your part in it. That's the hard part. It's easy to point fingers. It's harder to look in the mirror. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you admit, I could have done better. And then you do better. Taking responsibility isn't self-blame. It's self-leadership. It's saying, I can't change what they did, but I can change what I do next. That shift is powerful. It moves you from victim to author. And here's the truth, nobody gets through life clean. Everyone has chapters they wish they could rip out, but those chapters are still part of your story, and your story still has more pages to be written. You don't need to erase your past to start a new life. You need to understand it well enough to not repeat it. Starting over isn't about being a different person. It's about being a wiser one. So if you're trying to begin again, start here. Stop fighting what already happened. Stop running from who you were. Sit with it, learn from it. Then stand up, lighter, clearer, and ready. Your past may explain you, but it doesn't have to define you. You get to decide what comes next. And that's where your new life truly begins. Getting honest about what you want sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Most people don't actually know what they want. They only know what they've been told to want. They chase approval, attention, or a version of success that doesn't even belong to them. And then they wonder why they feel empty after getting it. Starting a new life begins with getting brutally honest about what matters to you. Not your parents, not your friends, not social media. You. Honesty is uncomfortable because it exposes truth. It strips away every excuse, every mask, every maybe later. But if you want a new life, you can't build it on lies you tell yourself. You have to ask the hard questions. What do I actually want? What kind of person do I want to be? What am I willing to let go of to get there? These questions aren't easy. They challenge your habits, your relationships, even your identity. But clarity only comes when you're brave enough to face those answers. When you get honest, you stop chasing everything and start choosing something. That's the difference between motion and direction. You can be busy all day and still be going nowhere. But when you're clear, every step starts to mean something. You stop saying yes out of guilt. You stop settling out of fear. You start living by design instead of default. And that's when your new life starts to take shape, not because the world changes, but because your choices do. Clarity doesn't mean you have every answer. It means you have a focus. It's about knowing the why behind your what. Maybe you want peace more than success. Maybe you want simplicity instead of speed. Maybe you want to stop performing and start being real. Whatever it is, own it. Because the truth is, you can't have everything. But you can have what's yours. The moment you stop trying to please everyone is the moment you start living for the right reasons. And here's the thing, getting honest isn't a one-time confession. It's a practice. Every season of life will test it. You'll be tempted to slip back into people pleasing, to fit in, to take the easy road. That's normal. But every time you choose truth over comfort, you reinforce who you're becoming. You teach yourself to trust your own voice again, the one that got buried under noise and expectations. So before you change your job, your city, or your circle, start here. Sit down with yourself, no distractions, no filters, and ask, what do I really want from this next chapter of my life? Don't answer with what sounds right. Answer with what feels true. Because starting a new life isn't about changing your surroundings, it's about changing your direction. Honesty is your compass. Without it, you're just wandering. But with it, you'll finally start walking toward a life that's not just new. It's yours. Cutting the noise isn't just about silence. It's about sanity. You can't start a new life when your mind is crowded with opinions, judgments, and comparisons that don't belong to you. Every day, you're hit with a flood of voices, people telling you what success looks like, what happiness should feel like, and who you're supposed to be. And if you're not careful, you start mistaking all that noise for truth. The problem is, noise drowns out clarity. It keeps you busy, distracted, and disconnected from your own direction. If you want to rebuild your life, you have to learn how to turn down the volume on everything that doesn't serve you. Some of the loudest noise comes from people who mean well. Family, friends, coworkers. They think they're helping when they give advice, but sometimes what they're really doing is projecting their fears. They tell you to play it safe because they couldn't take the risk themselves. They tell you it's too late because they stopped trying. You have to learn to separate love from limitation. You can care about people and still not take their advice. You can listen without obeying. Protecting your peace doesn't make you selfish, it makes you smart. And then there's the noise you feed yourself. The constant scroll through other people's highlight reels. The comparisons that convince you you're behind. The inner critic that repeats old lies. You're not enough. You're too late. You should have done better. That voice is loud because it's familiar, not because it's true. When you decide to start a new life, you have to challenge that voice. You have to talk back to it. You have to remind yourself that growth is not a competition. No one else's timeline applies to you. Silence is powerful because it gives space for your own thoughts to be heard. When you cut the noise, you start to notice what actually matters. You start to see what drains you and what fills you. You start to remember what peace feels like. That's when you realize you don't need more opinions. You need more quiet. You don't need more approval. You need more alignment. The right decisions are made in stillness, not in chaos. But cutting the noise also means making hard choices. You might have to step back from certain people, habits, or environments that keep pulling you off track. You might have to say no more often, not because you're rude, but because you're rebuilding. You might have to sit in some lonely seasons before you find your rhythm again. That's okay. Loneliness and peace can look the same at first. Give it time, and you'll see the difference. So if you're trying to start over, protect your space like it's sacred, because it is. Your focus, your energy, your mind, they're not open property. You don't owe everyone access. The world gets louder every day, but your new life depends on your ability to listen to the quiet inside you. Cut the noise, and you'll finally hear the sound of your own direction. Starting small doesn't sound exciting. It doesn't look impressive. It won't get applause or instant results. But it's the only way anything real ever gets built. The truth is, everyone wants to start a new life. Few are willing to start small. We want the big change, the big moment, the overnight transformation. But new lives don't start with fireworks. They start with quiet decisions made over and over again. You don't rebuild everything at once. You rebuild one brick, one habit, one day at a time. Starting small takes humility. It forces you to admit that progress might look invisible at first. It might mean waking up early to write a page when no one's reading it yet. It might mean saying no to old patterns that no one else even notices. It might mean forgiving yourself again and again until it finally feels real. The early steps rarely feel powerful, but that's where all the power is, because those small steps prove you're serious. They turn "I want to change" into "I'm changing." A consistency beats intensity every time. Anyone can sprint for a week. It takes discipline to walk every day. And that's what starting small teaches you. The discipline to keep showing up even when it's not glamorous. Every small action adds weight to your identity. You start to believe in yourself, not because you said you would change, but because you've seen yourself doing it. That's how confidence is built. through evidence, not emotion. You'll be tempted to quit, especially when progress feels slow. You'll look around and see others moving faster, and you'll wonder if your effort even matters. But here's the truth: speed means nothing if you're running in the wrong direction. What matters is alignment. Every small, steady step in the right direction counts more than 1,000 frantic moves in circles. Don't confuse movement with progress. The small things, the quiet habits, the unseen effort, they're the foundation of everything new you're building. And when you start small, you also leave room for growth. You learn as you go. You adjust without collapsing. You build resilience because you're not trying to hold the weight of the world on day one. Big changes fail when they're built on pressure instead of patience. A small start gives you space to learn who you are becoming in the process. So start now, not when it's perfect, not when you feel ready, not when everything lines up. Start with what you have, where you are, with whatever you can manage today. That tiny decision, that single action, is your first crack in the old shell. And once you take that step, momentum starts to build. Change doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from repeated choices. Starting small doesn't make your dreams smaller. It makes it possible, because every big life you admire began with someone who just decided to start. When you're starting a new life, it's easy to obsess over the outcome. You picture the finish line, the healed version of you, the successful version, the peaceful version, and you want to skip straight there. But that's not how change works. Real transformation doesn't happen in one moment. It happens in the process. And the process is slow, messy, and often uncomfortable. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming. That space is where the real work happens, not in the final result, but in the daily decision to keep going even when you can't yet see the reward. When you focus only on the outcome, you start measuring your worth by how close you are to the goal. You look at what's left instead of what you've done. You start rushing the process, forcing results, or giving up when they don't come fast enough. But when you stay in the process, you start to see progress differently. You realize that growth isn't always visible. Sometimes it's just the fact that you didn't quit today. Sometimes it's showing up when you didn't feel like it. Sometimes it's choosing a better response than you did yesterday. Those moments don't look like victories, but they are. The process builds character, patience, and strength. It teaches you how to keep your peace when things don't go your way. It forces you to confront parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. Your fears, your doubts, your excuses. It doesn't flatter you, it shapes you. That's why most people avoid it. But if you skip the process, you stay the same. You can't microwave a new life. It takes time to unlearn, to rebuild, to grow roots deep enough to hold what you're reaching for. Staying in the process also means trusting that effort still matters even when results are invisible. There will be seasons where you feel like nothing's happening, where the work you're doing seems pointless. But that's when change is happening under the surface. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not growing. Seeds break before they bloom. People do too. The cracks are part of your progress. The outcome will take care of itself if you take care of the process. Keep your head where your feet are. Focus on what you can control, your habits, your mindset, your reactions. Celebrate the small wins. Forgive the setbacks. Learn from every stumble. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be present. Because the process isn't just getting you to a destination, it's turning you into someone who can handle it when you arrive. So don't rush it. Don't despise the waiting. Don't give up because it's taking longer than you thought. Every new life ever built was built one day at a time, one lesson at a time, one choice at a time. Stay in the process. That's where the strength grows. That's where the change sticks. That's where the new life becomes real.